Hey everyone, this is Ryan Bush, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about Erik Williams. Erik Williams was the former right tackle for the Cowboys during their Super Bowl runs during the 1990s. And there's been a conversation started in the sports world amongst fans, a little bit on social media among writers. Erik Williams has recently been inducted into the Black College Sports Hall of Fame. And so there's talk now, well, is Erik Williams going to eventually be put in the NFL Hall of Fame? Is he going to land in the Cowboys Ring of Honor? And so I'm going to address that a little bit today. And I want to make the point right off that Erik Williams was a 4-time Pro Bowler. He was a 3-time first-team All-Pro selection. Very good player for the Dallas Cowboys during the 1990s. But I'm not a fan of him being in either hall, whether it be the Hall of Fame or to have his name put up in the Ring of Honor for the Cowboys. And I say that because I've watched almost every game during the 1990s. I've probably watched 95% of Erik Williams' games that he played with the Cowboys. He was drafted in 91, and he played through the 2000 season. And he had some really, really good runs with the Cowboys. 92, 93, he was a dominant player. But something changed when he had that car crash in 1994. Wiped out his whole season. You wondered if he would ever play again. And he came back and landed in the Pro Bowl in 96, landed in the Pro Bowl in 99. Still a good player. But after his car crash, he wasn't exactly the same player. He wasn't as, we'll just say, mean overall. Now, he had his moments. That 1995 NFC Championship game against the Packers was probably his best game post-car crash. And it certainly was probably his most important game. He had to shut down Reggie White of the Packers, and he did. One of the most dominant performances of his career. But past all the accolades, look past the numbers for a second. It's easy to sit there and say, yeah, 3-time first-team All-Pro. Yep. Past all that, if you go back and look at his career after the car crash, there was plenty of inconsistency. Plenty of inconsistency. Let's take 1997, for example. I know he was named to the Pro Bowl for that season, but there were times when he frankly wasn't all that impressive. A lot of that, the pass protection for Dallas in 97 was not very good. Not very good at all. And a lot of the criticism goes to the center, the young guy, Clay Shiver, for those problems. And a lot of the criticism is justified. Shiver struggled mightily. Mostly with blitz pickup, with knowing who to block, what kind of protections to call out, and so forth. But Erik Williams contributed to the mess at times as well. There was a game in San Francisco when Troy Aikman's coming off a concussion the previous week against Philadelphia. So everyone knows that you got to protect Troy this week. You can't let the defense knock the snot out of him again. And big game for Dallas. They come in at 4-4. They got to win this game. And first drive, Dallas is inching their way down the field. They're right on the cusp of scoring range, and then Erik Williams just turns the edge rusher loose. Aikman gets pulverized again, and you wondered in the moment whether Aikman was done for the game again for the second straight week. That's an example. Just occasionally Erik Williams would just have a blip. He wasn't, which is, not everyone's perfect, but the great players, the truly great players, aren't going to make those mistakes on a regular basis. And you fast forward, okay. Well, let me back up for just a second. And let me say this. Erik Williams had two dominant years, 1992, 1993. And then he started off at the same level, 94, before his car crash. So he had 2+ seasons of dominant greatness. Okay? And then you fast forward past his recovery, he returns to the field, and 95 and 96 were pretty good. Okay? Not at the same level as before, but pretty good. So you put it all together, and he had 4 years of what I would say, 4 years of he was at or very close to the top of his profession. He's one of the best right tackles. He's one of the best tackles in the game. Is that good enough for the Hall of Fame? I know we live in an age of basically where we just prorate careers. We say, well, Terrell Davis had, 3 years of greatness before an injury cut short his career. So we're just going to prorate his career and say that, well, he projected out to, he would have had an X amount of rushing yards. So we'll put him in the Hall of Fame. Tony Baselli. We say, well, without that injury, he would have been this great. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that at all, because football has always been about production. On the field, on Sunday, when the lights are on. You could talk about how great a guy looks in practice, how bad he looks in practice, how he handles the media, how he does this, how he does that. But what matters most is, does he produce when it counts? Does he actually produce? And for Erik Williams, overall, I would say he didn't have a long enough run of, quote, greatness to warrant Hall of Fame or Ring of Honor. Yes, he was there for the Super Bowls, and he was an important member, but his career wasn't long enough to warrant a Hall of Fame bid, or even, in my opinion, a Ring of Honor bid. So, and you look at this, and it's easy to say, well, he played for 10 years in Dallas. Yet, yes, he did. Let's fast forward. I want to take you forward to 1999, okay? And 1999, Erik Williams was named to the NFC Pro Bowl squad. This was his last Pro Bowl season in 1999. So, but I give Chan Gailey a lot of the credit for this, for Williams' success that season, for the Cowboys' success. This was especially after Michael Irvin's injury, this was a running football team. And I really think it was by necessity, because Dallas, not only were they thin at wide receiver, but Williams especially was getting old. His knees were starting to age. It was hard for him to bend his knees while backing up in pass protection, and he was inconsistent in pass protection. Chan Gailey protected Williams by simply leaning on the running game more often than not. There were times Gailey was criticized that season for being too conservative. And watching the games, I would tend to say, yeah, sometimes he was a little bit too conservative. But you understand the method of his madness, especially when you fast forward to the next season, when Chan Gailey's gone and the Cowboys install this kind of wide open passing offense designed to unleash Aikman and Joey Galloway, and the Cowboys are going to be this big play pass machine. And Erik Williams holds out during training camp. He threatens to retire. He's not really going to retire. He just doesn't want to go through training camp. He returns a week before the regular season starts. He's out of shape, and lo and behold, he's terrible. Out of the gates, Erik Williams was not playing good football. Troy Aikman gets killed. So a month into the season, even when Williams plays himself into shape, Jack Riley, the offensive coordinator, figures out that, hey, the personnel we have here on offense, we're kind of thin at wide receiver now that Joey Galloway's out. This really is a run-first football team. Chan Gailey was right again. So even you watch that last season. You watch Erik Williams' last season in 2000 there with the Cowboys, and you see a guy who's just getting old. Like I said, his knees are bad. There were times he got beaten bad. And there were times you see Erik Williams was an emotional player. And when motivated, when angry, he was on top of his game. But especially as his career wound down those last 2 years, you began to see him get frustrated with his inability to do certain things, with his inability to do the things that he used to do. He'd get off balance. A defensive end could get him off balance more easily than before. And instead of fighting through it, he tended to just give up on a play. And this was evident on a particular play on Thanksgiving Day in 2000, when he basically just got swatted out of the way, and he gives up on the play, and Troy Aikman just winds up getting smoked right in his grill.
Yeah, that's going to be, we talked about that matchup over there, Erik Williams and John Randall. That's going to be one all day. I mean, here's John Randall here. We remember him as a tackle, but now they have him out there at that left end. And you wouldn't expect that. It looked like something happened to Erik Williams. Yeah. He just gave him a bull rush, and he just came up underneath him, and Erik Williams let him go.
Like he didn't expect him to go inside like that.
Yeah, yes, Erik Williams has to do a better job than that.
These were the things that I saw in Erik Williams down the stretch of his career. And I love Erik Williams. You got to give the guy credit for coming back from the car crash. You know, plenty of people would have just called it a career at that point. But he came back and he played well. But Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, even, I know we live in an age of participation trophies, but this is the NFL. This is supposed to be the best of the best. And when we're talking about the best of the best of the best, when we get into the Ring of Honors and the Hall of Fames and those kind of discussions, you got to be the best of the best of the best. You got to be way up there. And I don't think Erik Williams was at that point for long enough in his career to warrant such a discussion. To me, it's not even really close. Yes, he won 3 Super Bowls. Yes, he was a key figure, key contributor. But not everybody goes into the Hall of Fame. It's okay to simply have a good career and leave it at that without feeling this need to talk and manipulate every conversation into where we make almost every player a superhero when he really wasn't.